could see it with the Toffoli deal, which I'm surprised Vancouver didn't give up more of its soul to get him. Hello!
Welcome to another episode.
So, Cornback Kings Talk.
I'm your host, Reed.
And it is time for That's So Kings, the podcast. And let's hop into this podcast for real. Good day, LA. This is That's So Kings, the podcast, a podcast where we talk about Kings hockey, even without live hockey. I'm your host for this short amount of time, and I'm here just to talk about the state of the Kings right now. It's not that flashy, but it's a conversation that we do need to have in this unprecedented time. So, what we remember from March, we were on a 7-game win streak. And there's optimism, and I believe those were the Kings that we wanted to see back in November when I had much shorter hair and was doing solely YouTube videos and just getting pissed off and that they were just blowing leads. There was a point at, I think around Christmas or New Year's where I was like, oh, this is just going to happen. We're going to get Quinton Byfield because you can't tank harder than Detroit. So I felt that it was just a write-off and I was just going to be watching basketball. And granted, I knew this Kings team wasn't going to be making the playoffs. But what happened in February around the trade deadline and what's happening in Ontario, that gave me hope. That created some semblance to reasoning to be optimistic about this club. But let's start out with the current club. As for the current club, there is still guys from the 2012 and 2014 Stanley Cups, mostly from both, due to their contracts and, I believe, preference in Kings management. Anze Kopitar, Jonathan Quick, Dustin Brown, Drew Doughty, Jeff Carter are all there because they were key contributors in both cups, but also their contracts are bloated. As uncap friendly as right now. They are outside of Kopitar and Doughty making $10+ million each. They're at least making $5 million. That is Brown and Carter. Lewis is making $2 million, but he's a expiring contract, so you might be interested to see what happens there. And then there's guys like Sean Walker, who's on his second. I believe he's a second-year guy. How did this guy not go drafted? He's a great puck-moving defenseman, which the Kings needed. Sub 6-foot D that can move the puck, and he's right-handed, so he knows he's going to make a ton of money. Which means, oh wait, he's in a contract year. Thankfully, he has negotiable RFA rights, which I believe is not going to be an easy battle since he's already 25. So he's probably, which I believe he probably either came out of college. So that was probably why he's just not on a lot of radar. Curtis McDermott, the big blue line enforcer, which I believe he will take the Kyle Clifford role of fighting most of these guys, since Clifford's probably going to re-sign in Toronto. And then you have kids like Mikey Anderson, who showed some promise when called up for those last, I believe, 4 or 5 games before the stoppage. And then on the pipeline, you have Paulo Demers, who I used to hype up this kid a couple years ago. Like, oh, he was supposed to be Sean Walker. But he's disappointed, and he's just, I think age has gotten the best of him. And he's also UFA at the end of the year, so that's going to be a problem. But we saw Cal Clegg, and he could be a burner. Sean Dursey, who was in the Muzzin deal with Grunstrom and the pick that led to Bjornfot, be very fascinating. And then back on the forwards, we have guys like Alex Turcotte, who here is like a puck wizard or a puck Jedi, depending on how you want to line your pop culture reference. But then you guys have they have guys like Tyler Madden, who we got in the Toffoli deal, which is surprised we didn't get more of, but and I'm surprised we didn't even retain salary on him because he was a very coveted winger during the trade deadline. And also, I think if we retained, we would ask for a first round pick, which I'd rather have the known quantity in a prospect than a lottery ticket. But you have Jared Anderson Dolan, who's a solid center who can be the next Swiss Army knife if need be. You have Akil Thomas, who did great in the World Juniors. You have Arthur Kaliev, who's not signed to a ELC yet, but he is lighting the lamp in the OHL, and somehow it was a home run for them to draft that guy 33rd overall the last draft, so the one back in June in Vancouver. And then Carl Gunstrom, he's a sandpaper meat and potatoes guy, which I think is very special. Great, because there's not a lot left. Then you guys have Rasmus Gustavsson, who was supposed to come up this year if he didn't get injured in the World Juniors. And you don't sleep on Matty Left, who had a great little cup of tea with the Kings last year. It's guys like that who show hope, and you expect more. And I think since Luff was down with the rain for most of the year, I think he wanted to refine his skills, not just being a one-trick pony, which I commend. And I totally forgot, but Sammy Fagema, if I say it the other way, I believe I'm going to get demonetized already on YouTube, even though I haven't been monetized yet, because he was the breakout star in Sweden, and a lot of draft experts liked the pick that we took him at 50, but they thought it was a little risky because he was an overager at the time. But you can't always be sure. As for the goalies, you have Quick, Peterson, and Villalta. That's, I believe, the pipeline. You guys have you have guys like Jacob Ingham, who just recently signed his ELC. You have Cole Keller, which I believe is going to be gone. You have Hrenek. You have all sorts of guys that will probably wait. Will be outside of Pearson right now being the backup. The rest of the guys are going to be backups until you just have to wait for the pecking order to change. It is still Quick's net, the contract, because the contract said so, and I believe that's what McClellan thinks. It's just fascinating to see where things are right now. I believe that the biggest surprise of this year was Gabriel Velarde, drafted as a teenager in 2017. He was posting up great numbers for the Spitfires during their Memorial Cup run, and he was slipping because of his skating. And I believe that was the problem with Kopitar when he was drafted in 05. And granted, yes, both of them were drafted 11th overall. That's probably the only coincidence. Their draft stock and their biggest dud because of their skating. And also, Velarde had an injured back. He was injury prone, and just sad to see someone so young trying to fight for his hockey career at my age. But you get the point. Someone very young and still in their ELC, and thankfully that ELC has slid to this year, where I don't know which I believe he's only using the first year because he basically redshirted the first year after playing a couple tryout games in Ontario, and he was very special. There is a video on my channel that before the quarantine one. I think it says 86 scores for 86 seconds for 42 to score first goal or something very number-rific. And I was very excited because the way he had to fight and claw back just to stay healthy and to get his shot with Big Club is pretty nice, and it adds more of that youth into it. And that's really good to see your first-round pick being proficient. And granted, a small sample size, but proficient nonetheless. And like Velarde was a first-round pick, like Turcotte, like Kempe was back in 2014, just like a lot of others. we made some bad things and we made some great things. Lately, we've been making some great trades and all that. And you could see it with the Toffoli deal, which I'm surprised Vancouver didn't give up more of its soul to get him, or we didn't retain salary, which is very strange. And well, I think and then with the Alec Martinez deal, I'll reference probably that in another episode. We got 2 second-round picks for a guy who's in his 30s, but he's a left-handed shot D-man with an extra year. So after this year, Vegas has another year on him, and it's going to be weird looking at him in a divisional rival, but I believe it had to be done. You wanted to move in young guys like Anderson, like Bjornfoot, like Jordan Spence, like all these guys to make a new breed of hockey. And once the 2020 first round pick gets announced, whenever that will be, because we're in this weird time, we might look at a loaded roster like people in the late 2000s did, when Kopitar, Doughty, Brown, all those guys were puppies, and now they're the grizzled vets bringing in, teaching and nurturing these puppies to become great players. And if it's Lafreniere, Byfield, Stuzel, Rossi, I believe Drysdale, they might play immediately because they're that good. And we'll just have to be in awe if we do see it. Thank you for listening to this podcast on the Buzzsprout Audio Network. And thank you if you're watching this on YouTube. Audio will come first. Video on YouTube will come later. That's it for this video. Thank you all for watching. If you're on YouTube, click like if you like this video, hit subscribe, and you tell all your friends, ring that bell. If you're on the Buzzsprout Audio Network, follow this page. Hey, check out social media links, which will be down below, both on Buzzsprout and on YouTube. And that's been episode 1 of That's So Kings, the podcast. Come next time when we dive in to one of the greatest trades that the Kings have made in the 2010s. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.